Our next topic is LV systolic function. As we know, the LV is one of the most important cardiac chamber, which is responsible for generating the cardiac output and the most important pump function of the heart. So we have speaker Dr. Jatin Narula, who will present the LV systolic function. May I request the speaker, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Srinivas sir, for the kind introduction. Good evening, Yatin Mehta sir. I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to be a part of the IACTA webinar 2020. And I am extremely grateful to Kanchi Mulidhar sir and the organizers of this meeting. And I look forward to be a part of this academic feast over the next few days. The topic allotted to me is LV systolic function assessment, and why do we choose the LV systolic function? Uh, According to Hindu mythology, Lord Ganesha is the first worship deity, which was dedicatedly followed by Mulidhar sir. Assessment of the LV systolic function is similarly the stepping stone of any echo evaluation. It is the best understood parameter, it is and it has a central role in the evaluation of any cardiac disease and plays a crucial role in guiding its management as well. Evaluation of the LV systolic function is perhaps the most common indication for echocardiography. Echocardiography itself provides different methods to assess LV function, and these have evolved historically. From the first non-invasive assessment of ejection fraction using the monodimensional M mode by Edler and Hertz in 1953, we have gradually evolved using the 2D echo, the 3D echo, and now we are looking forward towards fully automated 3D LV function analysis. So a brief overview of the discussion that I am going to have in the next 18 minutes is conventional assessment of the LV using quantitative measures of LV systolic performance, which are linear and planimetric methods, Doppler-derived indices, certain newer echocardiographic modalities, tissue Doppler imaging, strain and strain rate imaging, and basics of 3D echocardiography. So we begin the quantitative measurement of LV systolic performance using linear measurements, and it starts off by it is done by using the motion mode or the M mode or making estimations in the two-dimensional imaging. M mode provides better temporal resolution because of the higher pulse rate, and linear measurements have found to have the lowest inter-observer variability as compared to area or volume measurements. The measurements are made in N diastole at the beginning of the QRS complex or marking the widest LV cavity diameter, or N systole, which is marked as small s using the narrowest LV cavity diameter. We start off by first measuring the endocardial fractional shortening, which is measured by measuring the LV internal diameter systolic and the LV inner diameter diastolic in the transgastric mid-esophageal short axis, in the transgastric short axis view using the M mode. And then the fractional shortening is calculated by the formula LV inner diameter diastolic minus the LV inner diameter systolic divided by the LV inner diameter diastolic multiplied by 100. The normal values range from 25 to 43% in males and 27 to 45% in females, and it is a rapid and simple estimate of LV systolic function. The left ventricle wall thickness is measured in the transgastric mid-papillary short axis view. The septal wall thickness is measured from right septal surface to the left septal surface, and the posterior wall thickness is measured from the epicardial surface to the endocardial surface. Normal values range from 0.6 to 1 centimeter, and in women from 0.6 to 0.9 centimeters. The relative wall thickness is measured to differentiate between the different types of left ventricular hypertrophy, and it can be measured by the formula twice into posterior wall thickness divided by the LV inner diameter, or the sum of posterior wall thickness and septal wall thickness divided by the LV inner diameter. A regional wall thickness of more than 0.42 denotes concentric hypertrophy, and regional wall thickness less than 0.42 denotes eccentric hypertrophy. Coming to the calculation of the LV volumes, it can be done in linear measurements by the cubed formula, which is the derivation of 3D volume using linear measurements. It is based on the geometric models which approximate the shape of LV to a prolate ellipse, which has a short axis or a minor axis, LV inner diameter minor, equal to 1/2 of the long axis, or the LV major axis, LV inner diameter major. The minor axis is measured in the mid-esophageal 2 or 4 chamber view at the mitral valve leaflet tips. The LV volume is then derived by the formula LV inner diameter minor cubed. Coming to the planimetric measurements for LV systolic function assessment, we start off by calculating the fractional area change. It is measured in the transgastric mid short axis view, and the endocardium is manually traced around the LV cavity, ignoring the papillary muscles. The area of the LV cavity is measured at end systolic, the LV end systolic area, and at the end diastole. Automated border detection obviates the need for manually tracing area and provides real-time beat-to-beat measurements. Fractional area change is then calculated by the formula LV end diastolic area. The normal values in men range from 56 to 62% and in women range from 59 to 65%. The left ventricular volume can be calculated based on planimetric measurements, and the first method is the plane ellipsoid method. In this the LV volume is calculated assuming the LV to have an ellipsoid shape. The LV volume is calculated by a formula of 8 into LV area in the long axis square divided by 3 pi LV inner diameter major. The LV inner diameter major and corresponding LV cavity area in the long axis are obtained from the single long axis view, which is midesophageal 2 or 4 chamber view. And the normal LV end diastolic volume is around 62 to 150 ml, and LV end systolic volume is 21 to 61 ml. The LV volume can also be calculated using the biplane ellipsoid method or the biplane area method. This model incorporates the LV in two planes, that is the long axis and the short axis. And the LV volume is then given by a complex formula of pi LV inner diameter major divided by 6 into 4 LV area in short axis divided by LV inner diameter minor multiplied by LV area in long axis divided by the LV inner diameter in the major. The volume can also be calculated using the hemisphere formula, also known as model the LV to the shape of a bullet. In this, the LV volume is calculated by pi by 6 times the area in short axis and multiplied by the LV inner diameter in the major axis. Limitations of linear measurements, however, include that patients with regional LV dysfunction, two opposing basal segments, are unlikely to provide an accurate global reflection, and difficulties in attaining perpendicular alignment of the M-mode beam with the LV long axis. And accurate delineation of endocardial and epicardial borders are essential to avoid confusion with contiguous structures like chordae, false tendons. So current echocardiographic guidelines when ejection fraction. Coming to the method of DIS or the modified Simpson's rule, in this the LV is described and calculates the LV volume by manually tracking the LV endocardial border in two planes, preferably the midesophageal 4-chamber view and the midesophageal 2-chamber view. The discs are then summated to determine the LV volume, and assessment of change in the ventricles between diastole allows the estimation of ejection fraction. The limitations of this technique, however, includes suboptimal endocardial definition as seen in the image, and extensive wall motion abnormalities, geometric assumptions related to the use of two axes to globally assess the LV function. Other major drawback is foreshortening in image acquisition, which can influence our ejection fraction estimation, and the influence of variance and load-dependent factors on ventricular function assessment. LV mass can also be calculated based on the subtraction of the volume of the LV cavity from the volume encompassed LV epicardium by either linear methods or by planimetry. LV volume is multiplied by the density of the myocardial tissue to calculate the LV mass obtained by this complex formula. And accurate measurements are very crucial as errors will be cubed. The normal values range from 67 to 162 grams for women and 88 to 200 grams for men. Increased LV mass is a strong predictor than low ejection fraction for all-cause mortality and cardiac events rates in both hypertensive and normotensive populations. The next parameter for assessment is rate of ventricular pressure rise, or dP by dt. It has shown to correlate well with systolic function. That's because the variations in early systole can be considered to be negligible. Thus, rising segment of MR velocity reflects the LV pressure. It is calculated using the MR jet, which is integrated with the continuous wave Doppler. The cursor is placed on MR velocity profile at 1 meter per second and 3 meter per second, and the Bernoulli equation is applied to calculate the dP. The time interval between the 2 points is determined, and the ratio of dp by dt gives us the value. If it is more than 1200 millimeter mercury per second, it is normal. Less than 1000 is considered to be abnormal, and 1000 to 1200 is considered borderline. The major limitations of this technique is, however, requirement of a sufficient MR jet to calculate the dP by dt, and the need for parallel alignment of the continuous wave Doppler beam with the MR jet. Coming to Doppler assessment for LV systolic function, Doppler provides complementary and alternative indices for ventricular systolic function assessment. The stroke volume is calculated from continuity equation, and cardiac output is then calculated according to the formula cardiac output is equal to stroke volume into heart rate. The prerequisite for the Doppler derived parameters include parallel alignment of the Doppler beam, and because beam alignment underestimates the velocity time integral, and accurate estimation of the LV diameter. Marked errors in area calculation can occur because of the squaring of the radius. This technique includes independence of geometric assumptions as in the planimetric techniques, and LVOT diameter is the most accurate and reproducible because it approximates a circle, whereas the mitral annulus is ellipsoid and pulmonary artery diameter is difficult to. The next index for LV function assessment is myocardial performance index or TAI index. It is a Doppler-derived integrated measure of ventricular systolic as well as diastolic function, and has the ability to assess both LV heart disease and heart transplantation. The measure LV inflow and flow, and the TAI index is calculated by the formula of ICT divided by the ejection time. The normal values are 0.39 plus minus 0.05, and for RV it is minus 0.04. Coming to mitral annular systolic excursion or MAPC, it is ideally measured using M-mode echocardiography with M-mode cursor aligned parallel. Response to the mitral annular toward the apex, and MAPC less than 8 reflects impairment of longitudinal LV contraction. It is associated with LV ejection fraction of less than 50% with 98% and 82% specificity. Normal values range from 12 plus minus 2 millimeters. However, we need to have understanding that arrangement of myocardial fibers running in the endocardium are running in a longitudinal direction, giving a longitudinal shortening in the fibers, giving it radial shortening, and the epicardial fibers causing circumferential shortening. And this drives to the typical rigging or the torsion movement. The heart shortens and lengthens in the longitudinal direction, it thickens and thins in the direction, and shortens and lengthens direction, and also a torsion is present between the base to the apex, giving rise to 4 patterns of strain called longitudinal, radial strain, and rotational strain. Tissue Doppler imaging is mechanical motion assessment, and it involves the assessment of velocity and high amplitude myocardial motion. It uses low pass filters to screen out high blood velocities, and it examines the longitudinal component of the myocardial contraction. Because myocardial commonly involved impairment in the long axis contraction occurs before in the short axis function occurs, and this objectively quantifies the regional motion. Image acquisition is carried out by using the narrow image, increase the frame rate to preferably more than 150 per second. It's placed at the level of mitral annulus, and velocity against time plot is and S prime velocity longitudinal elevation and is a specific mark for LV function. It has shown correlation with ejection fraction, and S of more than 7.5 has a sensitivity of 68% in predicting ejection of that velocities less than per second. In velocities, however, are confounded by both include translation by segmental motion induced by contraction of adjacent myocardial segments, which is known as tethering. Strain and strain rate assessment. Strain is a measure of tissue deformity defined as change in the length normalized to the original length. These changes are called strain rate. Strain by imaging or by stacking. In the length is denoted by a positive strain, and a decrease in myocardial length or shortening is denoted by is usually seen in longitudinal strain and strain and strain rate imaging provide high quality precision global myocardial function in real time, and it increases the diagnostic accuracy. Global longitudinal strain ranges from -15.9 to 22%, -27.8%, and radial strain ranges from 35 to 59%. Strain imaging, we can calculate the following parameters, which is set of strain, peak systolic strain, peak value, post-systolic strain, time to peak. Using the strain rate imaging, we can calculate peak systolic, time to peak systolic strain rate, peak E wave, and peak A wave from the various region of interest or the various myocardial segments that are present in the heart. Tracking echocardiography of ultrasound with myocardium and produces unique acoustic patterns called speckles. The image processing software automatically subdivides a user-defined region of interest into blocks of approximately containing these stable patterns of speckles. Subsequently, frames are then analyzed automatically by location each speck placement used to calculate the tissue velocity and strain. Simplified clinical of speckle tracking and strain rates derived from speckle tracking include pathognition using the bullseye plot, subclinical dysfunction using the average GLS or circumferential or radial strain, and regional variation using the strain curve shapes. So after the acquisition of the image, we identify the region interest is identified, and strain waves are from the region of interest and the other myocardial segments. The Bulls plot in the end, what data is obtained regarding the end systolic and diastolic and performance of the various segments, myocardial segments, and strain rate in each of the following, segments can be obtained. Curves can be analyzed to distinguish between a normally ejecting events versus a dysynchronous segments where peaks are occurring over a in normal segments where we see the peak synchronously, whereas in dysynchronous LV function we can find that the peaks are occurring at different time frames. And the Bulls plot analysis can help us to differentiate and identify the myocardium which is affected. A normal strain pattern or normal strain is indicated by red with around -20%, and lighter areas of pink areas where strain tends to be lesser. And if the location can determine the artery which has been involved in cases of ischemic heart disease, like an anterolateral MI would produce a decreased longitudinal strain in anterolateral segments, and circumflex artery occlusion can show us akinetic segments or hypokinetic segments or decreased strain in the inferior segments, whereas a cardiomyopathic strain imaging can show that only the basal part of the LV has normal strain, whereas part of the left ventricle is having decreased strain and positive strain. So the advantages include it does not rely on Doppler velocity measurements. Strain and strain rate calculated from speckle tracking is independent of angle of interrogation, and it can measure any wall by the 2D echocardiography. Regional variations thus can be easily analyzed. Coming to global longitudinal strain, it expresses longitudinal shortening strain as percentage. It requires the operator to mark the endocardial and epicardial border, and the software automatically tracks the movement of speckles during myocardial contraction. The subendocardial layer, as I mentioned previously, is affected in 85% of the diseases, and it is the first myocardial layer affected by ischemia. And early detection using global longitudinal strain can alter management before the onset of overt LV dysfunction. Waveforms and strain curves can be used to illustrate contraction and temporal dispersion in multiple myocardial segments. And parametric display can be used to illustrate spatial dispersion through the cardiac cycle. A GLS of 16 to 8, less than 16% is abnormal, and more than 18% is considered as normal. Coming to 3D echocardiography, LV can be acquired and displayed in its true shape, avoiding the need for any mathematical modeling. The regional function is included in the overall estimation, and inaccuracies thus do not occur because of plane positioning and errors of foreshortening. It has shown to highly correlate with gold standard imaging, that is cardiac MRI, and has shown better agreement with lower inter and intra-observer variations than 2D echocardiography. The various softwares that are available, like Philips, GE, and they all require full volume data sets acquired over 4 beats. And since these are semi-automated, you have to identify end diastolic frames, provide end diastolic reference point like septum, lateral, anterior, inferior, and then identify the end systolic frames and provide the same reference points, and the software automatically tracks, and it can provide regional and global LV ejection fraction and LV synchronicity within minutes. Limitations of 3D echo, however, include a time to reconstruction, need for a regular cardiac rhythm, beat-to-beat changes cannot be followed as that happened during the surgery, and poor imaging if endocardial definition for inherent learning curve. So now we look forward towards fully automated 3D ejection fraction assessment, which refers to obtaining quantitative results without any user interaction. Means no view selection, no marker positioning, no contour drawing or modification. And 2 models which have been extensively studied are the HEART model by Philips and EASY volume analysis by Siemens.
Dr. Jitin,
With
you have how many slides you have? Because you're exceeding the time
3
now.
Slides.
Yeah.
3 slides, sir.
Yeah, please try to finish.
With a single click, LV endocardium is automatically contoured with a learning algorithm. And so the benefit include it has improved workflow because of a decreased time of acquisition. It is fully automated, variability is eliminated, and increased reproducibility, reasonable accuracy in comparison with CMR in terms of volume and ejection. Echocardiographic techniques have evolved from visual ejection fraction, which is current less facilities, however, at questionable depending on the user, and it requires vast experience, and it is sometimes overused in routine practice, moving towards 2D biplane, triplane, 3D manual, and 3D techniques, which slightly require 1 to 7 experience. And we are moving towards 3D fully automatic, which are the towards image acquisition 10 seconds with increased precision. So coming to conclusion, the current scenario that M mode has development for volume derivation, 2D derived volumes by foreshortening and RWMAs, and biplane Simpson's method, and in centers with against 3D echo is recommended when image quality is adequate for analysis. And there's no doubt the 3D echo with good imaging quality offers the closest to TMR derived volumes. Big thank you to all the organizers more of this academic feast, and small salutation to the superheroes who've made all these webinar possible. Thank you.